Welcome, everybody, to part 4 of Conscious Parenting. My name's Tammy, and I'm from Women of Inspiration platform that creates support for women in their various roles. And I've got Isolet Jansen with me again today from Aquila Counseling and Mediation, who's been sharing on conscious parenting. And so we had a little bit of a break in between just because life happens. And so today's our last part in our series on conscious parenting. And, I just want to say, conscious parenting is not about being a perfect parent. It's just about being a very intentional parent, being present and being mindful, in the process. So we don't have to be perfect. But there are a few sort of tools we can put in our belt that are going to help us on the process. I spoke to a mom the other day again, who's in the early stages of parenthood. So her toddler's 2 now, and she's like, oh, we need counseling to negotiate this stage that we're in. And it's like all the parents will say, we wish we had a manual, but we don't have a manual. So it's really understanding, first of all, ourselves, where we're at in our journey, understanding our children, taking the time to get to know them, see how they tick, what works for them, because we know that there's no cookie cutter approach to raising kids because they all have different personalities. And so today, even as we talk about connection, even connecting with our kids is going to look different for different children because also of their personalities. Obviously, there are certain across the board things that are going to help, but we need to just take into account that our kids are all wired differently, and so we might need to be a little bit different with them in the areas of connection. And I remember when my daughter was younger as well, there's one thing I always would make time for, and that is to have like days that it would just be us that we'd spend together. So it would be when she was younger, what would she like to do? And then we'd go to a game park or whatever it is and go and spend the day, or I'll go watch a movie. I can remember sitting through Tigger, the movie, and how many kids' movies, because that was what she wanted to do for the day. And, those are the little things we need to do that foster connection with our kids. And then as she got older, we started a ritual that's lasted even into adulthood. I mean, she's turning 28 this year. Unfortunately, she's in Wales now, so that's now not possible. But we would have mom and dom days. So her name's Dominique. So it was nice. And we'd say, right, when are we having a mom and dom day? And what are we going to do? And we would go to a museum or go out for lunch, find a new place we haven't been to, and just have special times together, that you almost like have a date day and just to reconnect, because life is busy, and so even with our kids, our younger children, it's find those moments that you can reconnect with them. And keep that going. I mean, even into adulthood, I believe we should retain that kind of connection with our kids. And if we start building it now, when they're young, when they get to adulthood, it's still going to be there. And then it brings you so much joy, because then, you've got a friend for life, actually, that you can do things with and just have those special moments. So anyway, having said that, Isolet, I'll give over to you to get started, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Tammy. I think you started it off so well by saying that it's not about being a perfect parent. I think that's what what this whole journey for me is about, is that it's my own realization of my imperfections and having grace for myself, or with myself. But it's about being aware of our imperfections, and loving ourselves enough to want to, first of all, heal because we talked about parenting from a deficit, to heal those areas. But then also that it's okay if we have a bad day. It's about being conscious about knowing this was perhaps not my best parenting day, and to try again tomorrow, and learning through the process. It's about being mindful and not just rushing through life. My mother always said, "Fools rush in where angels fear to tread," and it is true. We just rush from one activity to the next, rush to get our children through life, and in a wink of an eye, it's all over. And I think we talk about connection today, and I want to start specifically by talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So Maslow created a pyramid of needs, and at the bottom level, it's the foundation, and then it works itself up. So at the very bottom is our physiological needs. So we need food, water, warmth, and rest, and those things. Then we move on to the next level, which is security, and it's our emotional security. Then there's the middle level, love and belonging, and I'm going to skip over it just for a minute, because that's what all what the connection is about. And then I'm going to go, the one after that is esteem. So it's respect and status and recognition. And at the top level, it's self-actualization. So achieving your full potential. And what happens is, yes, we create the physiological safety for our children. We just about create emotional safety for them, but we forget about that connection bit, that love and belonging, because it's so important for us that our children have recognition. So we start enrolling them in a lot of activities, because we want them to achieve their full potential. We want them to be everything they could be. We want to give them opportunities, for that self-actualization. But we're forgetting that very important middle part, which is love and belonging. And in our process of rushing through life, balancing work and parenthood, and making sure that our children participate and get extra lessons so that they can be the best in whether it's academics or sport or cultural activities, we forget to create moments for connection. We forget to create pockets where we can connect with our child. And when they're younger, it's the intervals and the frequency of which you need to do that is very, very important for them to be grounded and to feel safe. But as they get older, it gets harder to do that, especially when they move into their teenage years, where their peers are their most important connection, and that is when it's the most important for us to fight for those moments of connection with our children. So, in terms of this love and belonging and connection, it is about building strong emotional bonds with our children. It is about offering affection, active listening, not listening to answer. It's listening to really hear what our child is saying, and being curious about how they view the world and how they see things. And then also to nurture relationships, and to encourage those interactions, and be a support for them for their friendships, not to judge their friends and what it is that their friends are going through, but just be a soundboard for them and give them the opportunity to work through those things that they struggle with. If we don't create those pockets of safety or those moments of connection for them, they're not going to come to us with their problems if they don't know we haven't created that bond with them. Okay, so how do we create, what do we do to build these connections with our children? Something wonderful that you said in the beginning was the word rituals. And people don't, I don't think we put enough effort into rituals anymore. Rituals, if you think back about your childhood, the things that you remember, for example, for me, two specific events that I remember really well is Christmas and Easter. And it was specifically because of the beautiful rituals my parents created around those festivals. And I have beautiful memories, going back to those periods in my life. But rituals are not just about big holidays, it's not just the Christmas and the Easter. We can have daily rituals with our children. Having a ritual of having dinner together, even though it's hard and they fight against it, there's safety in knowing what is going to happen. Our world is so intense and so crazy, and it's rough out there for our children. But to have a constant, to have something that they know this is something that happens every time we're going to sit around the table and have dinner. It's not a conscious thing, it's in their subconscious. Having, Sunday rituals, going to church as a family on Sunday. We had the Sunday lunch ritual, just a big hearty lunch, and then everybody goes for a nap. And I remember how much I hated it as a child, and today I'm like, why did I hate naps? I love naps. And then there's rituals around birthdays. Again, something that is so incredibly special to me. It's not about the presents, but we had a ritual where we would get up early as a family and sing to the one who has a birthday, and we would, make a show of it. My father was a baritone, so he had this beautiful voice, and later on we would start making jokes and sing very, off tune, and or as my parents got older, we started clapping and counting from 100. And those are beautiful memories I have with my parents, and something I could continue with my children. Waking everybody up early in the morning to do this. And, those are easy ones. I think in modern cultures, we don't have as many cultural rituals anymore, but a lot of cultures do have rich traditional
they do
rituals that they go through, and again, there's grounding in that. There's a sense of belonging. I belong.
Almost like an anchor.
It's an anchor. That's beautifully said, Tammy. Yes,
something that anchors you and anchors your children to something specific.
Absolutely. So, and another one I'm thinking of in South Africa, Heritage Day has become Braai Day, and that's something almost across all cultures that brought us as South Africans together. Is what are you doing for Braai Day?
They even celebrate it, the South Africans. Friday.
Wonderful. Yeah. So it, it is about having a sense of who am I, and if you have that anchor, like you said, you have that security, it makes it so much safer, emotionally and psychologically, for our children then to go out and explore more of themselves. That is how self-actualization happen. It's because they have that anchor, they have that safety, that foundation, that grounding, to then go and explore more of who they are, because they already have pieces where they know who they are, and they have that safety. Okay, so for little ones, for our babies, the first thing that's really important to know with an infant is there are no such thing as a naughty baby. A baby cries because they need something. And their needs are simple, although it's very difficult and very hard for a new mom to understand which cry means what. And they're uncomfortable, they have discomfort. But, as long as we show up when they're crying, that is so important, that we're there, that we cuddle. Touch is so important for an infant. Singing, skin to skin contact, and even reading to them, even though they don't understand as much, their language development's not there. But it, again, a beautiful ritual you start already with your infant is reading to them, because by just hearing your voice, it already builds a connection. And this is something, it's really important, and I really want to stress this for new moms, is to involve dad. Make sure that there are rituals and responsibilities that is for dad. And perhaps, and I'm guilty of this, I'm the first to say that, that if dad perhaps don't do things the way we believe they should do it, and we're often very critical of our new fathers. No, the milk shouldn't be that way, you must make it this way, or no, you can't do the bottle that way, and what are you doing with this nappy? And they also knew, they're also figuring it out. And if we're going to criticize our partner, for the way they're trying to figure things out for themselves as well, it's a scary thing for them as well. So give them the opportunity to figure this out for themselves as well, and give them that opportunity to bond with their babies. It's their children too. My husband had this wonderful ritual. He would get home and he would get into the bath with our little ones, and that skin to skin contact, and that would be their bonding time, and give me a little bit of space to go and do whatever I need to do at home. But it's really wonderful connection time between parents and infants. Then we move on to toddlerhood. So toddlers need to learn, or need to develop their sense of independence. And my mother said that the word I used most during this phase was self. No, I want to do it self. I want to do it. I want to do it by myself. But I just said self, and it would take half an hour to put a pair of shoes on, but I wanted to do it self. And so what a great opportunity to explore with your toddler, to re-explore and re-find the world through their eyes. And it is so exciting with the toddler, because you can do it in so many different ways. With food, let's try different fruit. Let's see how like an apple, I can still remember doing this with my children, how the apple explodes, the juices explodes in your mouth when you take that bite. let's explore how the banana is soft and squishy compared to the hardness of the apple. So it's all about exploration during toddlerhood, but also giving them the opportunity to learn things to do it for themselves. And this is also a phase that you have to be very patient. And it is the phase I think we have the least amount of patience as parents. But we have to be very careful to, because a lot of accidents happen in this phase. So let the accident happen and not shame them for making an accident. Say, oops, this happened. It's okay. Let's clean up together. And those are all opportunities to connect and to bond and have time with your toddler. Things like building blocks. Again, storytelling, pretend playing, singing. Music is such a wonderful opportunity to connect with children through all the phases of development. Having nice messy art projects, finger painting, and going out into the world, hiking. There's really so much we can do with our toddler. And this is a good point or place to remind parents that we have to connect with our children where they are at. We can't expect our 3-year-old to now already be able to sit through, if we enjoy a sport, expect them to sit for 80 or 90 minutes through a rugby or football match. It's just not where they're at. Absolutely. You can't expect them to have an intellectual conversation with a child of that age either. You really have to go to their level where they're at. And also accept if they're not interested in balls and wanting to kick a ball, accept that. It's don't force the subject. If the ball is not interested what they're playing in, then go with them, go explore with them. What is it that they are interested in? Okay, moving on to preschool. So here it is where they start developing their sense of purpose and direction. So, and they start having specific interests. And to find out, what are their interests, and encourage them, if they are interested in a certain, for example, in music, they have an interest in music. Okay, let's explore. You don't have to go out and let them start doing music lessons or anything as elaborate as that. Go to a music store and show them, look at all these instruments, and see what they're interested in. Don't have to buy the instrument. There are many other ways to then explore. I mean, we're very lucky to have the internet to then go and say, okay, you were interested in the drums. Let's see all the different types of music that there is with drums. Let's see how we can make our own drums, how we can make our own instruments. And again, this age is keep on reading to them, keep on listening to music together. It's a great age to start cooking and baking with them. And there is a very important thing that happens during the time that you cook with your child. There's a lot of things that they learn that they can carry with them, not just about the preparation of food. Thinking about things like measuring, showing them how to measure things, that's already creating a foundation for mathematical abilities.
And the sequence of things as well, like what order do we do what? Yeah,
absolutely. The order in which we do things. We learn about hot and cold, science coming in there, and just a great time to connect. And at this age, it is also great, and here this the word rituals coming in again, is to create a bedtime ritual. And I think we've spoken about bedtime rituals in one of the previous episodes. To know that, we have our bath time, and we have maybe a bit of a cuddle, and we have our evening prayers, and then we have our story time, and then it's going to bed. So again, a wonderful opportunity for connection.
Also lovely time of their life for you to start to explore and notice. So you spoke about the interests. It's a nice, because I can remember with my daughter at that age, I could start to see. So she was, as a little girl, we joked, we called her a womble, because she would walk and could pick stuff up and put it in her pockets. And so at night, when you'd put her in the bath, all this stuff would fall out of her pockets. But she was extremely curious about life and things, and she used to collect things. And so I could see that even as she got older, that she was a collector. She liked to collect things, and she'd take really good care of them. But there was always a curiosity about things. And she'd do a lot of research, and she'd dig into all sorts of things. And I could see that already in her as a young girl, in her curiosity. So I think even in terms of, we're looking for how to develop our children in God's design for their lives, is when they get to an age where you can start to pay attention to their interests and what grades them, even the way they dress. Like I can remember with her at that age, even she would like different type of clothing. And as she got older, into her teenage years, she used to dress like way out, but so she went through that stage where it was really crazy, and then she went through a really girly, beautiful stage. But you could see the fashion sense and just the different ways she would dress. But I could see that already as a little girl, the creativity in her. So I could see there was an artistic flair there, and she was interested in music. So we need to channel them in God's design. And so we need to really pay attention to those little things that we sometimes skip over. Yeah. Like you said, they don't want to kick a ball. Find out what they do want to do, because you might need to channel them in that direction to give them that opportunity. So I just wanted to
so important there, Tammy, in God's design. And God's design and not our design. What is it that we want to push them in? Then we move on to the primary school years. So now we're looking here between the ages of 6 and 12, 6 and 11, just before they move into adolescence. And here the important thing to help our children with and build connection is around a competence, and then through competence is building self-esteem. And our children doesn't have to be the best at something, but they must be good at something. So meaning that there must be something out there that they do well, that they enjoy, that they feel they found their niche, they found their space. They don't have to, if they enjoy a sport, you don't have to dream for your child to be a national player already at the age of 7, 8, or 9. Yes, it's wonderful to want those big things for our children, but it's far more important that they enjoy it, and that there's something that they can take through life with them, that they don't feel it's a pressure thing, something that's precious for our children, that they really enjoy with their whole heart. And now we come and we put pressure on them, and we put extra coaching and extra this and that, and then it's not enjoyable for them.
It becomes work.
It becomes work, absolutely. And to really build in their self-esteem, and say, you know, there are many schools of thought around praise for children, and I'm not 100% sure that I found the exact balance for that yet. But what I do know is where my children shine is when I say, I loved watching you. I loved being here and watching you play. And as we go through those phases, you know, and they move into adolescence, they become realistic. They become very hard on themselves. You know, I had a terrible match, or I was really bad at that recital. I did so bad. But a wonderful time, and again, connecting with our child is just saying, wait, you know, let's dissect this. Let's focus first on what are the elements of the game or the recital that you did well. You know, let's go through it. And if they struggle, say, you know, I thought that when you did this or that, and or that piece you played, you did that really well. And then say to them, okay, what do you think you did? Where do you want to improve? You know, it's not about focusing on what you did badly or where did you fail. It's not about that. It's about learning from the opportunity, and do you want to improve? And if that is not their thing, if they don't want to dissect the whole match and all of that, don't push it. It doesn't have to be that.
And I think
so
also we mustn't discount their perspective into something, because if they felt they didn't do well, maybe they didn't do well. And then you as a parent are coming in and you're saying, no, you know, you did this and you did that. So that's also that balance. You are wonderful, you're awesome, but they know that that wasn't their best. So yes, we're also looking at trust here.
Yes.
Can they trust us to be safe? Because even that is being unsafe. Because they need to be able to acknowledge a fault, or acknowledge that maybe I didn't do my best. And like what you said, the best way to manage that is, okay, maybe you didn't do so great, but how can you improve? What would you do differently next time to make that better? And as they get older, it's really important to not discount because that's part of their autonomy, right? They start to see things.
Absolutely.
And so we can't discount that.
No, absolutely. And it is exactly that. It's almost like there's a bit of unsettledness. You know, I have this feeling, you know, so again, they have a feeling that's real. So I can see that you're upset about the match, but let's put it into perspective. You know, what exactly is it that you're upset about? Because it can't be the whole game. So let's look at exactly what are the points that you're upset about, and then yes, reflect, and also be honest. You know, I can see what you're saying here. It didn't look like that from the floor or sitting in the crowd. I couldn't hear that mistake that you are talking about. And then also not to try and fix it for our children, not to be the helicopter, not to say, okay, let's go and do this. Ask them, what is the solution? You know, what do you want to do? Is there anything I can do? And leave it at that. But this age is also a great age for movies, enjoying movies with our children. I also remember going to a lot of movies with my kids, loved it. And then this is a great time to start playing games, having family game nights, or just a game that the two of you play. Again, beautiful memories I have of summer holidays playing cards and Scrabble with my mom. Then you know, going on hikes, visiting museums if they have a specific interest. We're quite we love going to museums and historical sites. Keen interest in history in our family. And then I love this. I have a big heart for my community, so start involving them to participate in community and service projects. And whether that is projects within the church, within the wider community, cleaning up a park or the beach or something, being there and showing in the front lines for our children how we are serving our community. Okay, then we move on to adolescence, the teenagers, sometimes teenagers, and here identity is a big thing, and even more important to meet our children where they're at. Sure. How often do I hear parents say, "Yeah, but they don't want to spend time with me," or "No, but they don't want to do what I want to do." No, I don't like that stuff. I'm not going to do that. And it's a pity if we don't set the example of meeting our children where they're at. We can't expect them to come meet us on the other side either. So, like you said, later in life with your daughter, you guys picked something, either something mom likes or Dom likes. They also have to learn, in a great time here for them to learn about your interests. So 1 week we do what you want, and next week it's my turn to choose something. Teens are exploring interests. They testing their boundaries, the boundaries we've set for them. They're exploring their own values and belief systems, and we need to encourage that. We need to make it safe for them to have the conversation and to talk about their values. And a great thing to do that around is what's happening in the media. So I remember when the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, which was very almost loud, I want to say, in the media, it was everywhere. You couldn't escape it. It was so interesting to hear my children's views on whose side they were on, and why they thought that person deserved their support, and again, not to shame them in the process. You really hear them and say, well, that's an interesting view, and respectfully share your view and say, for me, this is how I view it. So I could, my children often say, "Mom, stop mediating." So as a family mediator, my point of view was, I'm not a judge. I am a mediator. So I look at it very objectively and say, how could they have resolved this more peacefully? How could they have done this more respectfully towards each other? But I heard their views, and all good and well for you, and interesting, to hear how they are developing their sense of values.
And sometimes we can learn from them in that process. I mean, I know how many times I've learned from our girls when they've said something contrary to my view on something, but it sort of stops you in your tracks, and it makes you think, because sometimes we also have our way of thinking about things, and we need to be able to be critical thinkers, to look at somebody else's thought pattern and maybe consider maybe they're not wrong, maybe I can learn from this, and how can I then help this to inform the way I view things. So I've just felt for my side, that's how I've learned also, from our children.
Yeah. So there's so many opportunities to connect with our children here. Something that's happening in our home right now with our boys is with the Rugby World Cup. So my husband and our sons created a fantasy team, and they're competing against each other. So that's really a lot of conversation in our home is around what's happening in the Rugby World Cup right now. But there are so many opportunities that technology brings us. A fantasy team is something you can do throughout the year. What I'm enjoying with my daughter right now is she's starting to share passages from books that she's reading with me, and really wonderful time for connection again, just almost not dissecting it, but to hear, why is this so beautiful? How do you resonate with it? And again, just time to have fun with our kids. Fitness, so important, whether it's evening ritual of evening walks, or if you're a family that runs or cycles, if you're a family that enjoys music, going to concerts together, or spending time listening to music when you're cooking, let the kids put up a playlist. In our house, the music taste is quite diverse.
Interesting.
It's interesting to hear the different perspectives, and by listening to their music, we also, teenagers or adolescents listen to music a lot. It's part of their identity forming. And it is so important to hear what they're listening to. What is the message that music is bringing them? It is sometimes a pain point in our home. No, I'm listening to the beat. I like the beat. And I'm like, but you really hear what they are saying, listen to that language, especially my sons, is that something, is that something that you feel okay about, having language like that, or talking about a woman like that, thinking of me as your mother and your sister, would you be okay if someone spoke, about us in that way? And again, a conversation, trying not to shame them in the process. But yeah, great connection time. Vacations, vacations are a luxury, but even if you stay at home, what can you create in that time that you are at home? Not everything necessarily needs to cost money. Watching a TV series together. We really enjoyed the Young Sheldon series as a family together. We literally, all of us, watched it together. It's something that's nice and short, that it's, especially if you're tired in the week, just a nice way to unwind. Maybe after dinner, just say, let's just sit and watch an episode together, and we laugh together. Again, laughter creates connection. And then make sure that we spend alone time with our children, family setting. We need to have moments for connection one-on-one, where it's just us and our child, so that there are opportunities for deeper conversation. And it doesn't have to happen every time, but the opportunity is there if they need to share something. Okay, so the next part is, where do we connect with our children? So there is a man, and his name is Bronfenbrenner, and he created a framework which is about understanding how the various environmental factors and systems influence a child's development. So it begins with its circles that grow out. So the middle circle is the very center of, that's our child. Okay, and the immediate circle around our child is our family unit. In whichever way that looks. Some
It's like the
families look,
microsystem, hey, is what he
the
calls it.
microsystem. So yeah, so our families look very different. So some families have grandparents that live with them. Some families, family units only have a grandparent and children. So whatever your family unit looks like, the unit is those that are closest to you, that live with you. And so your immediate environment, and it represents your immediate surroundings, and then it builds out into the next layer, which is the school and peers and church. And we need to, as this build out, the next system is how the community that we live in, the church, and then builds out even further. What is the influence of our country? What is the influence of our country's policies? How does it affect our children? If we think about something like COVID, how did that affect our children? And what we need to realize, the reason I'm bringing this or talking about this, is that we have to realize that our children are out in the world. It's not just, we aren't the only influence on our children. That microsystem, the immediate contact. We are not the only influence on our children. It's not the only place that our children are getting information from, and especially in the age of the internet. So as the circle grows bigger and as they grow older, they are influenced by and affected more and more about these various systems. And when we connect with our child, we have to be mindful of those various places where that influence them. So, for example, if they go out and they go to school, what is it that they're exposed to at school? And how does that shape them? If they sleep over or go visit a friend, what is it that they're exposed to with a friend? And even when they grow older, they're more exposed to the media. What is the media telling them? What is social media telling them? How is that shaping them? And then also during periods like how COVID affected our children, not being able to go out in the world, not being able to see other people's faces. We were wearing masks all the time. And so it is just important for us to be conscious of all these layers of influence in our children, and that all of these areas have an active role in shaping our children, and that we have to be not only aware of it, but we have to be empathetic towards our children, in understanding that there is a very loud world outside of our home, and they confront it with so much. Not all of it bad. Some of it is good. Some of it's really good that comes. But if we have a good relationship with our children, if we build those connections, we really empower them to thrive in the context of all of those systems.
Great resilience in them, hey, because
Yes.
we know life's not easy and there's a lot of challenges come our way. And I think if we can start to build that resilience in our children from young, it's going to serve them well as they go into adulthood. They're going to know how to negotiate or navigate life, and what comes their way. So it's so important to start when they're young with all of that, like the connection and creating safety for them and creating those rituals that become patterns in their life and creating the muscle memory even of laying down those neural pathways, of what this looks like. What does connection look like? Because, like we spoke before, they're going to go on to their life. They're going to get married. They're going to have kids. And what are they going to take with them into that? That's going to be something really special. Like you've got your things you remember from childhood. I have things I remember from childhood, and it's all special stuff that we try to carry over to our kids. Or we create new rituals if we didn't have rituals. Then we look at what we lacked and we start to implement that, with our kids. So it all really starts at the beginning. And, our brains are wonderful. So if you've missed out on a few of the foundational steps, it's never too late, right, to go back. Not to go back, but it's never too late to start with connection, even if it's baby steps.
Absolutely. And talking about when our children are adults, it's still important for us to reach out to them and connect with them. It's still our job. We're still their parents. It's still important that we meet them where they're at.
Wow, important.
Yeah.
So I think what I also want to add, sort of what we discussed at the beginning, just as we end, is also in the whole connection process, is to understand, our children's love languages as well, is to, again, we come back to God's design, how they're wired. How do we connect with them? What, one kid might want quality time, and another kid might want acts of service because, that's their love language. We all respond differently. So, that's why also when somebody doesn't do something that's in line with our love language, we tend to say, well, they never do anything for me, or I don't feel that they love me. It's because they're trying to show their love in the way that they maybe receive love, but it's not how you receive love. Even if we look at trauma, sorry, it's got the scratch. A child that's love language is physical affection. If they get physically abused, that trauma wound is going to go a lot deeper than a child whose love language is quality time. The parent spends a lot of time doing stuff with them, but might still be abusive. But the way that child's going to perceive the parent, and I'm not saying there won't be trauma, but there's still going to be a positive connection because that parent's connecting to the love language. So it's very interesting the way we're wired and how that works. So if we can understand, start to notice from young when, what makes our kids tick, as we spoke about in the beginning. What is it that they enjoy? What do they want us to do with them? We want to maybe roughhouse them and wrestle with them, and they don't like that because physical touch is not their love language. And then they get upset, and then you go, well, why don't you want to, but we have to consider and notice these things about them that might not be what they want. And so that's the way we learn to start to fill their tank in the right way, because when their tank is full, their behavior is better. They're going to respond differently. I mean, it's the same with us, right? When our love tank's empty, we're not the best of people to be around if our needs aren't being met in the right way. So this is another very important aspect to consider with our kids as well.
Absolutely. And you talk about abuse, but the opposite is neglect. And we don't realize how easy it is to neglect our children in our busyness in the world. And the effects of neglect, the long-term effects, and the process of healing of neglect is a hard road as an adult to recover from. And yes, it's wonderful if we have these tools when our kids are young, and when they're little, but it's never too late. Never too late to start to build that connection. And every day is a new opportunity. And if your children are older and you want to start this process now, start small. Don't overwhelm them. Just start slowly.
So for everybody that's sort of been with us for the whole journey of the 4 parts episodes, I'm sure that they've enjoyed it. And I've certainly enjoyed the time with you as well, Isolet, just talking about this very, very valuable topic. And I'm sure there's a lot of nuggets that's been left, and just given some food for thought around parenting, and like obviously the very last step is the connection process. But so maybe just to sum up today is to just understand how important love and belonging is, and to not miss that very important foundation, because I know it has Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like the one kind of builds on the other, and if there's a lack in the one area, you're not going to really have fulfillment in the next area, so we need to pay attention to that. And I know love and belonging comes in with choice theory's needs as well, where one of the needs is love and belonging, and how important that is to have balance in your life in these areas. And then finding the ways that we can connect with our children, finding those rituals of connection and keeping that going, and starting it from when they're young, so that they remember that into adulthood. And then paying attention to the systems that they're part of, and the influence of those systems on them, and the impact of those systems on them, and also on us, because it's going to impact the way we respond to them. And we know we get the greater systems that we don't actually have a say over, that have that impact on us. And then, I think be mindful, keep on being mindful and intentional in your parenting.
Yes, and it's never too late to start. You start today. Have grace for yourself. Be forgiving, and start with yourself. Start with where you are at. Look at your own healing, at your own deficits, where you struggle. Make an effort, a concerted effort, to work and resolve those. And then, very importantly, meet your child where your child is at. You, the adult, you, the parent, you go to them. You meet them where they are.
Okay, so thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And can look forward to another series coming up, but we'll take a bit of a break. In between that, we will start to look at marriage, divorce, and look at the mediation process, which is also important. And so you can look forward to that coming up soon. So thank you very much, Isolet, for your time, the time that you've made to actually share with our viewers, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you for the opportunity. It was lovely.